How to rewire your brain to make more money. They told you money is evil, that wanting more is greed, that ambition is dangerous, that wealth is for the lucky, the born rich, or the corrupt, and you believe them. But what if I told you the greatest lie ever sold wasn't about money itself? It was about the mind you were taught to use when thinking about it, because the war isn't outside you. It's not in the economy. It's in your wiring. And if you don't rewire it, you'll spend your entire life building someone else's fortune while praying for pennies to survive. Let me break this open for you. The richest men in history, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Ford, Disney, Jobs, weren't born with money. They were born with something far more powerful, a mental framework, a system of belief, clarity, discipline, and decision that allowed them to generate wealth like a furnace generates fire. They thought differently. And because they thought differently, they acted differently. And because they acted differently, the universe obeyed them. You are not broke because of your job. You are not poor because of your past. You are not stuck because of the system. You are stuck because your subconscious blueprint is still wired for survival when it needs to be wired for abundance. Understand this. Your brain is not designed to make you rich. It is designed to keep you safe, safe from risk, safe from embarrassment, safe from discomfort, safe from change. But safety is the enemy of wealth because money moves where courage leads. And courage doesn't come from the world. It comes from belief. When Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times to invent the light bulb, he wasn't chasing money. He was chasing vision. But that vision made him unstoppable, and unstoppable men don't ask permission to be wealthy. They decide. Edison rewired his mind to see failure as feedback, to see obstacles as signals, to see the invisible as more real than the physical. That's the first step to rewiring your brain. Detach from your present reality and attach to a vision bigger than your limitations. Stop waiting for your bank account to tell you what's possible. Start letting your vision dictate your next move. Because here's the truth nobody tells you. Money flows to identity. You don't attract wealth by wanting it. You attract it by becoming the kind of person who commands it. Your identity is the thermostat of your financial life. If you see yourself as average, your income will fall in line with average. If you see yourself as a builder, a producer, a leader, wealth will begin to move toward you. Because wealth obeys conviction, not credentials. Let me be brutally honest. If you're still blaming the government, your boss, your parents, or the world, you're not ready for wealth. Because wealth begins the moment you take total responsibility for the condition of your mind. You must become the architect of your internal world, not its victim. You must be willing to unlearn everything you were taught about money and rebuild a new belief system from the ground up. Andrew Carnegie was a poor Scottish immigrant. He worked for $1.20 a week as a bobbin boy in a cotton mill. But in his mind, he was already rich. He carried a secret, a white-hot inner image of who he would become. Not someday, not maybe, not if things worked out. He believed it like a law of nature. And because he believed it, his mind found the way. That's how it works. The subconscious mind is a servant, not a master. It will carry out whatever blueprint you install. Most people install scarcity, fear, doubt, and guilt, and then wonder why they can't make more money. But when you install vision, certainty, clarity, and purpose, your mind becomes a magnet for solutions. Money is attracted to those who move with clarity and conviction, not those who hope, not those who beg, not those who wait for a sign. Because here's the paradox. The brain does not change through knowledge. It changes through decision. One powerful, soul-piercing, non-negotiable decision can do what 10 years of education never could. Not the decision to try, not the decision to see how it goes. The decision to become the kind of person who earns, creates, and distributes wealth with power and purpose. It is the decision to burn the boats, like Cortez did when he landed on the shores of Mexico. To remove retreat as an option, because if you leave an exit open, the brain will take it. Your brain will always default to the familiar unless you teach it a new pattern. And that pattern must be installed intentionally, just like software. You want to rewire your brain to make more money? Then you must program it for abundance on purpose every day. Wake up and declare, I am not here to survive. I am here to create. I do not fear wealth. I welcome it as my duty to serve. I am the source of value. I am the vessel for prosperity. I am the bridge between vision and reality. I say it, repeat it, live it. Because repetition is the language of the subconscious. And the mind believes what it hears most often, and especially from you. Henry Ford once said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That wasn't a slogan. It was a neurological law. The brain literally builds pathways based on what you expect. If you expect poverty, it will find ways to confirm it. If you expect wealth, it will scan the world to find opportunity. But expectation requires belief. And belief is built through evidence. So give yourself evidence. Start with one win, one sale, one creation, one decision that proves you are not who you used to be. Build momentum like a snowball. Not because it's easy, but because it's non-negotiable. Do not seek comfort. Seek power. Do not wait to be ready. Move while you're afraid. Because courage is the bridge between poverty and wealth. And that bridge is built with bricks of consistent, focused, disciplined thought. So here is the question most never dare to ask themselves, what am I rehearsing in my mind every single day? Are you rehearsing defeat? Are you rehearsing lack? Are you playing the same internal movie of doubt, fear, and financial limitation over and over and expecting prosperity to walk through the door? Because here's the unspoken truth. Your outer world will never outgrow the movie playing inside your mind. Your income is just a reflection of your internal patterns, your habitual thoughts, your self-image, your standards, your non-negotiables. Most people never examine the script they've been handed. They memorize it, they follow it, they cling to it as if it's their identity, not realizing it was written by teachers who never built wealth, by parents who feared risk, by a culture that celebrates safety and demonizes ambition. But you are not here to follow someone else's script. You are here to write your own. You must become the director of your thoughts, the author of your beliefs, the sculptor of your inner world, until it matches the life you were born to live. This is how you rewire your brain to make more money. You starve the old story. You feed the new one daily, ruthlessly, intentionally, not once, not when it's convenient. Not only when you feel good every single day. Just like Carnegie read his definite purpose aloud morning and night. Just like auto-suggestion is the bridge between thought and reality. Just like every master of wealth who first conquered the inner battlefield before laying claim to outer riches. And that battlefield? It's your habits of thinking. It's that split second when your brain whispers you're not good enough. You've never done this before. You don't have what it takes, and you either believe it or break it. That's the line. That's the pivot point of every wealthy life. Not talent, not luck, not inheritance, but who wins the moment when doubt enters the room? Because doubt is not truth. Doubt is inertia. And inertia is the force that keeps the average man broke. It's not because he lacks intelligence. It's because he lacks mental momentum. He wakes up and reacts. He scrolls. He complains. He drifts. He lets the world decide what he thinks. And so his financial life remains in chains, forged by his own inaction. But the man who rewires his brain, he wakes up and commands the day. He doesn't hope for money, he prepares for it. He builds structures, systems, strategies. He disciplines his thinking like a warrior sharpens a sword, because that's what wealth requires. It's not a lottery. It's not a wish. It's a system of thoughts and actions so deliberate, so repeated, so practiced, that results become inevitable. Tesla once said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, apply that to your brain. What frequency do your thoughts emit? What energy do your beliefs carry? What vibration does your vision resonate on? Are you tuned to fear or power, to reaction or creation? Because money is energy, and energy is obedient to intention. You want to rewire your brain to make more money? You must first raise your internal frequency to match the reality you want. You cannot attract wealth from a state of guilt, fear, or scarcity. You must rise in thought, rise in identity, rise in action. Because every time you think like a wealthy person, speak like a wealthy person, plan like a wealthy person, you become one. Not because the money is there yet, but because the pattern is. And once the pattern is locked in, the results will follow. But beware, this is where most people fail. They say the affirmations, they watch the videos. But when the pressure comes, they default. Back to safety, back to fear, back to the old them. And that's when the wiring undoes itself. Because repetition isn't just about practice. It's about response under pressure. You want to know who you really are? Watch yourself when everything goes wrong. That's when the subconscious reveals itself. That's when your wiring speaks. And if it's still wired for poverty, it will panic, shrink, retreat. But if it's wired for power, it will adapt. It will solve. It will rise like a phoenix from fire because it was trained for this. This is not inspiration, this is biology. Neuroscience had confirmed decades ago. The brain can literally rewire its pathways based on focus, emotion, and repetition. You are not stuck. You are programmable. And every thought you allow is either reinforcing poverty or reinforcing power. So ask yourself, what kind of thoughts am I repeating? What internal language am I normalizing? What kind of wealth blueprint am I reinforcing every morning when I look in the mirror? Because money doesn't start in the wallet. It starts in the identity. And identity is nothing more than belief plus repetition plus decision. Decide who you are. Repeat it until it's law. And act in alignment with that identity until reality bends to match it. Disney knew this. Broke, rejected, mocked. He kept imagining Disneyland while sleeping on a bench because his brain wasn't wired to need permission. It was wired to create. That is your birthright. That is your inheritance. Not to follow the world, but to reshape it, to sculpt it with your vision, to command it with your words, to build it with your actions. But none of it begins until you take command of the one machine more powerful than any economy, any market, any policy, or paycheck, your mind. Your mind is your original factory. It manufactures every result you've ever had. It built your income, shaped your relationships, and decided every risk you did or did not take. And like any factory, it runs on systems, routines, Input, output, garbage in, garbage out, greatness in, greatness out. So what are you feeding it? Because every contact with alarming media, every negative conversation, every hour spent with people who normalize mediocrity, that's fuel. Fuel that feeds a mind designed for something bigger and poisons it with noise. You can't build an empire while tuning your brain to the frequency of gossip, distraction, and comparison. You have to isolate. You have to protect your mental garden like a sacred vault, because the seeds of your future are planted there. The brain does not care if the thoughts are good or bad. It just repeats what's familiar. It wires itself to whatever gets reinforced. So if you rehearse fear, fear becomes your reality. If you rehearse power, that becomes your new baseline. You must become the architect of your default state. Think of Henry Ford. He wasn't just building cars. He was building a system that would eventually change the world. Assembly lines, processes, efficiency, vision backed by mechanisms that turn thoughts into products. That's how your brain should work. Every morning ritual, every evening reflection, every decision to step forward instead of retreat. That's wiring. And the most dangerous belief you could hold is, this is just who I am. Number. That's who you've been trained to be. You were trained by repetition. You were trained by environment. You were trained by early experiences that shaped your lens of reality. But that lens is not fixed. It is flexible. It can be shattered, rebuilt, and refocused if you are willing to do the inner engineering. Rewiring your brain for money means training your nervous system to feel safe in wealth. That's the piece no one talks about, because you can talk about wealth all day. But if deep down your nervous system equates money with stress, rejection, betrayal, or unworthiness, you'll sabotage your own progress. You'll delay the launch. You'll undercharge your value. You'll shrink in moments you were born to rise, not because you lack skill, but because your system is protecting you from what it thinks is danger. Wealth becomes impossible until your entire being believes it is safe to receive it. So let's reframe the question. It's not, how do I make more money? It's, how do I become the person who attracts, multiplies, and maintains money effortlessly? You don't chase money. You match it. You match it in thought. You match it in emotion. You match it in behavior. Money responds to confidence, decisiveness, service, and structure. It runs from doubt, confusion, hesitation, and inconsistency. So, start here. What beliefs are you holding that repel wealth? What hidden guilt, fear, or resentment are you carrying toward money? What limiting stories are running beneath the surface that say things like, people like me don't get rich, I don't know enough, if I make more, I'll lose more. Rich people are greedy. These aren't just thoughts. These are walls. And until you dismantle them, every strategy will backfire. Because mindset is the foundation, and no skyscraper is stable on cracked ground. You must become a renovator of your inner terrain. Tear down the outdated blueprints, strip the toxic wallpaper, gut the broken wiring, and start building a mansion of the mind, where every thought is a throne, every belief a brick of gold, and every room echoes with clarity, power, and abundance. This is not fantasy. This is neurological reality. You're sculpting a new mind, and the wealth you seek is already waiting for the you who completes that sculpture. The world will pay any price to the person who knows who they are, what they offer, and why they're worth it. That clarity, that confidence, that inner certainty, that is the frequency of wealth. So elevate your self-image. Speak of yourself as someone who deserves to win. Walk like someone who's already arrived. Take actions that are beneath no man. And surround yourself only with people who reinforce your next level, not your past one. Because your environment is not just where you live, it's what you tolerate. It's what you normalize. And normalization is destiny. Normalize excuses. You get poverty. Normalize results. You get wealth. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times trying to invent the light bulb. But he didn't see them as failures. He said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That is rewiring. Every setback became a signal. Every failure became feedback. And because he trained his mind to see value in the process, the result eventually followed. Money doesn't go to the person who avoids failure. It goes to the person who outlasts it. So condition your brain to see every obstacle not as a stop sign, but as a mirror showing you where you must grow, where you must level up your beliefs, your strategy, or your courage. And every time you pass that test, you don't just move forward. You become unshakable. You rewire yourself into someone who no longer fears rejection, loss, or risk. You become a financial force of nature because success isn't an event. It's a character trait. It's the inevitable result of becoming the person who creates wealth. Not once, but again and again, regardless of the market, the economy, or the opinions of others. And the moment you decide that money is not something you pursue, but something you attract by who you are, that's the moment everything changes. Because here's the ultimate truth. Money is not just about numbers. It is energy, motion, belief turned tangible. It is the world's applause for the value you create, the problems you solve, and the certainty you radiate. And until you respect it, truly respect it, it will avoid you. Because money doesn't stay where it feels unsafe, unwanted, or misunderstood. It flows to those who are ready, mentally, emotionally, structurally. The man who earns millions without structure will lose it. The man who attracts wealth without healing will destroy it. The man who begs for success without becoming valuable will resent it when it doesn't arrive. That's why this journey is not about chasing wealth. It's about becoming wealth. Rewiring your brain to make more money means burning the bridges to small thinking. No more maybe someday. No more I'll try. No more let's see what happens. Burn it. Because that kind of language programs your nervous system to expect nothing. And it always delivers. Instead, you must speak in declarations, in decisions, in truths that make the universe move. I am building wealth now. My value multiplies daily. Money flows to me because I've earned it, I respect it, and I serve through it. The subconscious mind hears everything you say, and it records each word as a command. Speak scarcity, and you program struggle. Speak abundance, and you pave the path to prosperity. So train your language, train your tone, train your mind to speak as the wealthy speak, act as the wealthy act, and think as the wealthy think. Not someday, but right now. Because if you wait until the evidence shows up to believe, you'll be waiting forever. Wealth begins with unseen belief. That's what Walt Disney had when he walked through an empty orange grove and saw an empire. He saw castles where others saw soil. He heard music where others heard silence. He believed in magic before it existed. And then he built it. That is what rewiring does. It lets you see before the world catches up. It lets you feel the future in your bones before the money's in your bank account. It lets you hold the energy of wealth long enough for the world to match it. This is not manifesting in the casual, lazy way people use that word. This is mental discipline. This is inner warfare. This is a daily decision to reprogram every corner of your mind away from fear, doubt, and excuses, and into command, clarity, and power. And that process begins each morning. The moment your eyes open, your brain is in theta. the gateway between conscious intention and subconscious automation. It is your prime time to plant seeds, to script your identity, to decide who you are and what today will pay you for. This is not the time to waste, not the time for checking bad news, not the time for absorbing other people's chaos. This is sacred space. It is the gym of your identity. And if you waste that moment, you begin each day from the wrong frequency, chasing, reacting, scattered. But if you own it, if you rise with purpose, if you speak life into your mission, if you lock eyes with the version of yourself who already has the success you desire, then every action becomes alignment. You no longer try, you execute. You no longer wish, you command. You no longer ask for permission. You move with precision. That is how you create the internal blueprint that prints external wealth. Because it is not the market. It is not the crisis. It is not the government or your job or your background. It is you. It has always been you. And that means you hold the power. You can rewrite the script. You can restructure your patterns. You can recalibrate your nervous system until the idea of wealth doesn't feel like a stretch. It feels like a requirement. That is the key to sustained success. It's not how hard you hustle. It's how deeply you believe and how powerfully you embody that belief in every step, every word, every decision. Nikola Tesla once said, "If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. That includes money. Your thoughts carry frequency. Your feelings transmit vibration, and your actions echo through the energy field of opportunity. So if you want different results, change the signal. Stop broadcasting lack. Stop radiating fear. Stop transmitting hesitation. Instead, broadcast value. Radiate certainty. Transmit abundance. Because money follows leadership. Money follows clarity. Money follows the individual who knows exactly why they deserve it and is bold enough to receive it. This is what it means to rewire your brain for wealth. It means mastering your thoughts like steel. It means aligning your emotions like magnets. It means elevating your identity until the only thing more ridiculous than being rich is settling for less. It means seeing wealth not as a goal, but as a byproduct of who you have become. When you reach that level, you no longer have to chase. You draw success like gravity. You walk into rooms differently. You speak into business deals with force. You move through the world with an authority no one can fake because it was built from the inside out. You don't just make money. You become the kind of person money cannot ignore. And that right there is the difference between those who wait and those who win. Because once you become that person, the one who vibrates at the frequency of abundance, who commands wealth by virtue of who they've become, you don't fear loss. You don't fear failure. You don't fear starting over. Why? Because you are the source. You are the root, not the branch. You are the well, not the bucket. You don't draw water. You become the spring. And once your brain, your nervous system, your soul understands that money no longer owns you. You own it. You shape it. You use it as the powerful servant it was always meant to be, never the master. But here's where most people sabotage themselves. They want the fruit, but refuse to dig deep enough to plant the seed. They fantasize about the mansion, the yacht, the lifestyle, but won't face the inner poverty still living in their subconscious. You can't build an empire with the mind of a beggar. You can't earn millions if you still feel unworthy of thousands. You can't unlock financial freedom while emotionally addicted to financial struggle. You must unlearn the identity of lack. You must fire the old version of you, the one who tolerated less, accepted crumbs, bowed to fear, and hire the version of yourself who refuses to shrink ever again. And that takes more than motivation. It takes reprogramming. It takes sitting alone with your deepest doubts and dissolving them in the light of unshakable decision. Because belief without decision is just noise. Desire without action is just fantasy. Knowledge without transformation is poverty in disguise. The greats knew this. Henry Ford wasn't the most educated. He wasn't the most technically skilled. But he decided with such iron certainty that he would build an engine that others said was impossible. And so he did. He didn't need permission. He needed faith in his mind. He rewired himself not to ask, is it realistic? But to ask, is it worth building? That is the question every wealthy person is asked at some point in the dark. Is the life I imagine worth becoming someone new for? Because that's the price. To make more money, you have to give up the comfort of the old you. You have to surrender the illusion of safety that mediocrity offers. You have to risk embarrassment, rejection, failure, and still rise again. You have to become the kind of person who builds a bridge in a storm while others wait for sunshine. The kind who acts while others ask. The kind who leads while others lean on excuses. Because no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to hand you the code. No one is going to knock on your door and say, congratulations, your mind has been upgraded. That's your work. That's your calling. That's your responsibility and your privilege. Because once you choose to rewire your mind, once you train yourself to think, feel, and act like a millionaire before the money ever shows up, you set off a chain reaction that becomes unbreakable. Suddenly, your habits shift. Your circle elevates. Your time becomes sacred. Your boundaries harden. Your tolerance for nonsense drops to zero. And this isn't arrogance, it's alignment. Because when you're walking in divine alignment with the future version of you, the one who's already achieved everything you dream of now, you no longer entertain what doesn't fit the frequency of that reality. You don't explain your vision to people who've never built anything. You don't lower your standards to make others comfortable. You don't apologize for the fire in your chest. You own it. You carry it. You protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. That is what success requires. That is what wealth demands. Not just the right strategy, but the right identity. And identity is built by repetition, by drilling the new belief so deep into your nervous system that the old story cannot survive. That's what rewiring is. It's a demolition and a resurrection. It's tearing down the house of scarcity brick by brick and replacing it with a temple built on unshakable vision. And every day is a brick. Every morning ritual is a beam. Every aligned action is a wall. Every uncomfortable conversation, every stretch beyond your limits, every yes to faith and no to fear, these are the materials of your new reality. And one day, you will walk into the mansion you built with thought, with discipline, with invisible bricks made visible by your relentless commitment. You will look around and realize you didn't just make more money. You became the kind of person who makes it inevitable. And when that day comes, when the wealth arrives, not as a lottery ticket, but as a natural outflow of who you've become, you'll see it clearly. This was never about the money. It was about you, your courage, your evolution, your refusal to live small. Money is just the mirror. It reflects who you are when no one is watching. It reflects the hours you invest when it's dark and thankless and no one claps. It reflects the strength you build when the world says, be realistic. And you say, watch me. Understand this deeply. Money doesn't change you. It reveals you. It multiplies your essence. If you are generous, it will amplify your impact. If you are disciplined, it will build your empire. If you're fearful, it will vanish. If you're reckless, it will destroy. That's why rewiring your brain is non-negotiable. Because if your outer world grows faster than your inner world, you will collapse under the weight of your own potential. But if your inner world expands first, if your mindset matures before your bank account does, if your identity strengthens before your income explodes, then no amount of wealth can shake you. You will carry millions like they're made of paper. Not because you don't value them, but because you know your real value cannot be counted in dollars. It's in your decisions, your resilience, your clarity, your vision, your ability to adapt when others break, your willingness to believe when the results don't show yet. That's the core, that's the root, and that's what most people never understand. They chase money without becoming the person who can hold money. They try to skip the rewiring and then wonder why they sabotage every breakthrough. But not you, because you now know the truth. Every dollar you desire starts as a thought, a belief, a code in the mind. And when that code is clean, clear, and congruent, when every cell of your body agrees with your vision, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions are in harmony, the world has no choice but to obey. That is not hype. That is not fantasy. That is the very principle upon which empires have been built. Look at Andrew Carnegie, born into poverty, no education beyond the basics. But what did he possess? An obsession with purpose, a mental resilience forged in the fires of hardship, and an absolute refusal to accept the limits imposed by others. He didn't need a map. He became the map. He didn't beg for wealth. He commanded it with a brain that was sharp, decisive, and calibrated for greatness. This is your call to do the same, to take back the steering wheel of your mind, to reject the narrative you were given if it no longer serves you, to install a new operating system where fear is replaced with focus, where doubt is replaced with direction, where guilt around wealth is replaced with gratitude and ownership. Because let's be brutally honest, you weren't born to struggle. You weren't born to beg for crumbs while others feast. You weren't born to watch success happen to others like a spectator in your own life. You were born to build, to create, to rise, to turn the raw materials of thought into the architecture of fortune. And it begins with a decision, not a wish, not a maybe, not a hope whispered at 2 a.m. when you're tired of your own excuses. A decision made with fire, the same fire that lit Edison's lab after 1,000 failures, the same fire that burned in Lincoln through political defeat after defeat, the same fire that turned setbacks into stepping stones for every self-made millionaire who's ever lived. You are no different. You are cut from the same cloth. But cloth means nothing without stitching. And the stitching happens in your habits, in your focus, in your willingness to say no to distractions and yes to the next level. Let the world stay distracted. Let the world chase shortcuts. Let the world laugh when you speak like a millionaire before you've earned your first one. You stay grounded in your vision. You train your mind like a warrior. You feed it thoughts that electrify your soul and starve the fear. You rewire with discipline. You act with boldness. And you receive without guilt. Because when the money arrives, and it will, you will not be surprised. You will not be shocked. You will not be overwhelmed. You'll be ready. You'll look around and say, this was inevitable, because you did not wish for it. You became it. You thought differently. You moved differently. You refused to settle. And now the world is simply catching up to the blueprint your brain already built. This is the secret to lasting wealth. It's not in the market. It's not in the economy. It's not in the latest trend. It's in you, rewired, rebuilt, unstoppable. So now, stand in front of the mirror, not just to see your reflection, but to confront your potential. Ask yourself the question that built empires and shaped destinies. If I already had the wealth, the power, the influence I desire, how would I think? How would I speak? How would I move? Then be that. Be that now. Be that before it shows up. Be that when no one believes in you, when no one claps, when no one sees the mountains you're climbing in silence. Because the real work happens in the dark. It happens when you're broke but show up like a billionaire in spirit. It happens when fear whispers, play it safe. And you answer, I was not born to hide. It happens when you're tired and broke and nobody's watching and you still act like it's done. That's when the rewiring becomes real. Not when it's easy, but when it's earned. And if you earn it in private, you will be rewarded in public. That's the law. That's the game. That's the price of freedom. Listen closely. This world does not need more people chasing money. It needs more people becoming worthy of it. Not by proving themselves to others, but by becoming masters of their own minds. Because the man who controls his mind controls his destiny. And the woman who commands her inner world bends the outer world to match it. We've been taught to look outward for opportunity, for permission, for worth. But everything you're searching for is already inside you. The switch has always been there. The code was always waiting to be rewritten. So rewrite it. Write over the story that said you're average. Delete the line that said you're not smart enough. Burn the paragraph that told you money is evil, or rich people are selfish, or success is for those people. Success is for those who decide. Wealth is for those who prepare. Freedom is for those who no longer wait. So the only question now is, will you wait or will you rise? Will you waste another year away consuming instead of creating? Or will you turn your life into the masterpiece others study for generations? This isn't about hustle culture. This isn't about burnout. This is about alignment. This is about becoming magnetic to wealth because you've done the deep inner work most will never dare face. You want more money? Then start asking better questions. Ask, what belief is standing between me and abundance? What identity am I still clinging to that doesn't belong in my future? What would I dare to do if I could not fail? And then do it, not recklessly, not carelessly, but with the conviction of a mind that has been forged in truth. Understand this, there's no future version of you who magically wakes up confident, wealthy, disciplined, and unstoppable. That version is not waiting. That version is created by what you choose to think, speak, and do today. So choose. Choose the identity that scares you because it stretches you. Choose the habits that inconvenience you because they elevate you. Choose the path that demands more because it gives more. You are not here to survive. You are not here to blend in. You're not here to tiptoe toward death with dreams still locked inside your bones. You're here to lead, to inspire, to dominate the landscape of your own mind so that the world becomes a mirror of your mastery. That is what it means to rewire your brain to make more money. It means no longer reacting like the old you. It means no longer accepting crumbs when you were meant for the crown. It means training your mind to see opportunity where others see chaos. To feel wealth before it arrives. To expect success because you've built yourself to deserve it. So rise now. Don't wait for the timing to be perfect. Don't wait for the stars to align. Don't wait for permission or proof. You are the permission. You are the proof. And this very moment, what is the rebirth? Right here, right now. Draw the line. Burn the old script. Step into the fire. Not because it's safe, but because that's where you're forged. You're no longer the seeker. You're the source. You're no longer the student. You're the standard. You are no longer the dreamer. You are the one who builds the dream. Now go. Rewire. Rise. And claim what has always been yours. Not by accident, not by luck, but by the unshakable power of a mind awakened. Let them doubt. Let them laugh. Let them sleep. You've got work to do, the kind that makes kings, the kind that makes legends, the kind that makes money follow you, because you finally become the person worth following, and you never look back. You must keep in mind the following. Repetition is the sculptor of your destiny. You will not become what you visualize once. You will become what you visualize consistently, daily, obsessively, until your brain starts adjusting your behaviors, your standards, your environment to match that inner self-image. That's not magic. That's biology. So listen this lesson again and again and again until it gets installed in your brain and in your subconscious mind, until you realize the results you seek.